Hey everybody, welcome back to week 6. This is going to be a fairly short walkthrough because we don't have a writing assignment this week, but I want to talk to you a little bit about the argument essay as well because it is due at the end of next week. So this is a good week to try to get it completed so that you have some extra time if you'd like to talk about it with me, or if you'd like to work with the Tutor Me system to get some extra help on it. Is your major assignment for English 110, and it is the one assignment that's going to be useful. They're all useful. But typically when you write for college, you're going to be writing full papers like the argument essay. You're not going to be writing just one paragraph here and one paragraph there. So this is the one that I find to be the most realistic, maybe is the right word, not useful. It's going to come closest to the type of things that you're going to have to write in other classes. So it's a big one. It really is. It's the main event. And it is the kind of the last chance to prove that you have learned how to do APA formatting, and especially how to do APA documentation. Because honestly, the formatting part, I mean, if you, I double spaced or I didn't double space or whatever, content is always more important than formatting, but documenting your research is absolutely 100% important in college writing, because if you don't have proper documentation, technically it's plagiarism, right? So it's very important that we get these lessons down. I know that, we're working on the argument essay introduction this week. The one assignment for checking your feedback that's going to give you the most help on for the argument essay will be the feedback that I gave you from the Unit 4 writing assignment, because that's the one where you were required to have a source, a library resource, and you were required to have a quote and a paraphrase from it that are both cited with both in-text citations and a references page. And if you did not succeed in that documentation, then that is a huge signal that you do need to get some extra help with, especially with your documentation, before submitting the argument essay at the end of week 7. So be working on it this week. The assignment sheet is available throughout the course, but I'll remind you where you can find it super quickly. And that way, if you didn't already have it printed out or something along those lines, you can do that. So let me go ahead and open the course. And I will remind you that you can find all of the assignment sheets on the course information page. So if I click on course information and I scroll down, you will have towards the bottom, you have the course assignment list. And this is the place where you can go and find not only, of course, the assignment sheets, but here's that reminder of how to submit an assignment in Blackboard that I'm always having to remind people about. You can reach that on the course assignment page. And then the most important one that I want to draw your attention to right now is this last one on this list, Unit 7 assignment, which is the argument essay. This is the one that will give you the full rundown of the requirements for the argument essay. Now, we're not going to go too much in depth on it until next week, but I am going to go through those requirements so that if you do want to work on it this week, which I highly recommend that you do, that you will know, kind of what to pay attention to. As always, there is a list of requirements. So it needs to be, as we've talked about multiple times, a Word document, or you can save it as a PDF. That's fine. If you're using something like Microsoft 365 or Google Docs or some sort of program that is not one of those, which I don't know that much about. If you're on a Mac like I am, you might be using Pages, but you have to save your document as either a Word file or a PDF file on your computer. You can save it to the cloud if you're using a cloud storage service, but you still need to be able to upload it as a document. Sending a link to something is not how you turn things in Blackboard. I have to be able to just open the actual document. Okay. So you need to be able to locate it on using your computer system. It doesn't, I mean, it can be stored on the cloud, but you need to be able to navigate through and click on it and upload it. Your essay has to be at least 3 pages, full pages. That means not the cover page, not the references page. You should have an introductory paragraph with the thesis at the end of it, which is what you're turning in this week. And then you should have, I would say, at least 3, but probably more like 5 fully developed body paragraphs. So we're talking about 7 sentences roughly each. Each one of those should have some kind of included research. Sometimes you want to use direct quotes, keep those very short. Sometimes you want to use information from research that you've put into your own words or paraphrased. And sometimes you want to summarize material from the resources that back up your main points that you're arguing. All research has to be documented in 2 ways: in-text citations and a references page. Now, the requirements say you have to have at least 3 in-text citations and at least 3 sources. I would not necessarily use more than 3 sources, but if you're writing a 3 to 4 page essay, you're probably going to have a lot more than 3 in-text citations, because every single time you use a piece of research, you have to have an in-text citation. Remember that what goes inside those in-text citations we've studied, but you can always look back at the APA materials. You can also use some additional resources. I'm going to post a couple of videos this week that will help kind of review that for you, that I have made. You can use the Tutor Me system. You can use any tools available to you to make that appropriate. And then at the end, you will have a conclusion paragraph. If you have any trouble finding like what to do in my intros and conclusions, there's a lot of really good resources out there. I'm a big fan of the OWL, or Online Writing Lab, at Purdue University. They have full pages on a lot of different things like what to do in introductions and conclusions. So don't be afraid to make use of that kind of thing as well. Of course, you can also ask me for ideas and help, but there's great examples already out there. So no need to reinvent the wheel there. Each body paragraph must focus on one idea that supports the argument. So if I, for example, am talking about should cell phones be banned in the classroom, and I am arguing that they should, then each of my body paragraphs is going to talk about another reason why that I feel that way. And I'm not going to say that I feel that they should. I'm going to write this, remember, in 3rd person objective voice. We should not have an I, we should not have a we, and we should not have a you anywhere in this argument essay. So one of the things that you may want to do, if you know that you have that propensity to use the first person, once you're all done with it, run it through, like you can do a word search in Word, and you can look for the word I or we, and that would kind of uncover all the times that you used it. So there's some ways that you could kind of help yourself get that stuff out of there, but that is covered in the assignment sheet as well. All right. So I would say with at least 3 pages, and your body paragraphs, and really even your intro and conclusion, are about a half a page long once it's been typed and double spaced, then you're going to need at least 3 up to 5 reasons. You also can use one of your body paragraphs to talk about what good points the other side has. For example, if I'm talking about should there be a pay gap in sports based on gender, and I'm going to argue no, there shouldn't be, it's not fair, I still might spend a paragraph talking about how realistically the other side has a point, which is if people are paying $100 a ticket to go see a professional athlete who's a male, and they're only paying $20 a ticket to go see a professional athlete who's a female, then there is some legitimate reason why sometimes the pay is different. But anyway, so you could spend one paragraph talking about quote unquote the other side. It's a good way to help develop the argument as well. All right. So we'll talk more about the argument essay at the beginning of next week for those of you who aren't ahead of the game and are not going to start on it this week. But I would highly, highly recommend that you at least make sure that by the end of this week, you have all your sources gathered and you have some notes and you have a rough outline of like what kinds of topics you're going to cover. Okay. So that's in the course information link, and you can click on that anytime. You can also find that same assignment sheet kind of throughout because we started using it back in Unit 4. So they've given you that link over and over again, but that's the quickest way to just go get it. All right. All right. So with that being said, I said this is going to be short. I'm not being as short as I meant to, but anyway, in Unit 6, you do have a discussion board to do, and you have a knowledge check, just like we did back in Unit 3. So you do have work to do this week. That's not the argument essay, but this is also a good time to maybe get that work done. So there's a reminder at the top about registering for classes, and then we get into our topics, which is the art of crafting an argument. So you are going to be learning about the ways that we support our arguments, and we call those rhetorical appeals, logos, ethos, and pathos. Logos means that we are appealing to the logical nature of humans and their sense of kind of fairness, and this is what makes sense. Ethos means that we are focusing on reliability and credibility. Ethos has less to do with an overt, like, here's what I'm writing about, as it does with if we are using our research responsibly. So if I'm writing a research paper and I'm using a whole bunch of unreliable websites or websites that maybe lack credibility, then my ethos as an arguer is not very strong. And then finally, pathos, or that emotional connection. If you think about advertising, which is what you're going to be talking about in the discussion board this week, when you think about advertising, if you are watching an ad for, say, a car on television, sometimes car ads will give you some logos. They will talk about maybe how good of gas mileage it has or what a good safety record it has. Those are logical reasons to purchase a car. But a great deal of that advertisement is going to be them showing usually somebody famous, like Brie Larson, or she does a lot of car ads, or who's the other one? Oh, Matthew McConaughey. Somebody famous, or at least somebody usually very attractive, driving around in a car, and the car is pretty, and it looks like it's going really fast, and it looks like it's handling turns really well. That's pathos. That's building that emotional connection. If you see an advertisement for a necklace, a diamond necklace or a diamond ring close to Valentine's Day, there's almost no logic involved in that. It's all about emotion. So advertising really spends a lot more time on emotional connections or pathos than we want to in an argumentative writing piece like the argumentative essay. You mostly want to focus on logos in writing your argument essay. The ethos will come if you're using good resources. And there are some times when emotional connections make perfect sense. If you were writing a paper, for example, against drunk driving, there's a lot of good statistics and facts and things like that to promote the idea that we should not drink and drive. But the real selling point is that people lose loved ones, right? And so that emotional connection is there. Anyway, so you're going to be reading about that. I just gave you a miniature lecture on logos, ethos, and pathos, but you're going to be learning on it about it even without me. So in the readings and resources, of course, you have the writing and argument part. You have one of our structure resources, the structure of the argument essay to kind of help you get ready for that. We have an activity on writing transitions. Transitional words are awesome, but sometimes we get in bad habits and we use the same ones over and over again. So this is a really good interactive to help you with transitional words. And then you've got some additional readings on those rhetorical appeals, as well as some videos. So please make sure that you're doing all your readings and resources. I say this every week before tackling the written assignment, or not the written assignment, but the test, the knowledge check, and even before attacking the discussion board. Your prompt, as usual, your initial response is due by Wednesday, and your responses to others are due by Sunday. I already kind of explained what you're doing. You're going to find an advertisement and you're going to break it down into how that advertisement is using logical, ethical, and emotional appeals, or logos, ethos, and pathos. Now, very important, what is an advertisement? An advertisement is not an article about something. An advertisement is literally something trying to sell you a product. So there's two main divisions when it comes to advertising. It's either got to be a visual print advertisement that you might see in a magazine, or that you might see up on a billboard, or it's got to be a commercial. So a 30 or 60-second commercial. And how do you find these? You're going to have to share where you located it. So I want to show you a couple of quick techniques here on how to locate those. First, I'm going to just open the YouTube tab here, because one of the coolest ways to find this stuff is to look at YouTube. Most people end up doing commercials, and I do think that's probably a little bit easier than finding a print ad. So let's put in famous commercials. There you go. You're going to get a ton. Now you are going to get lists, which may or may not be what you want. You may want to find a specific commercial. So if you are looking for something specific, you will notice that some of these are very long. Here's a 40-minute one. Those are going to give you multiple advertisements. Now you can use one of those and just pick one ad from that selection, from the collection, but you can also find a specific advertisement and only focus on that. So here, for example, this one is 1 minute long, which means this is the commercial. This was Drake's Sprite commercial. If you know of a particular commercial that you want to look at, I just mentioned Brie Larson commercial. She's advertising for Nissan. Here's this one, is something that was shown at the Super Bowl. Super Bowl commercials are also a really good way to go about it. Here's one that is, again, 1 minute. This one is not for Nissan, it's for Hellmann's Mayonnaise, but it's her and John Hamm. So this would be something you could use. It's a specific advertisement. You do not want this. You don't want the behind the scenes of making the commercial. You are going to be literally analyzing the advertisement itself. And you can do old advertisements as well. One of my favorites from my childhood was Where's the Beef? It was a Wendy's commercial. Actually, it was a whole campaign. But here's a 30-second ad. So you can go back in time and look at that. That's one reason those kinds of collections are pretty interesting, because you can look at a bunch at one time and then just pick one from there. Whatever you use, you do need to share with us how to find it. So I'm going to pause this. If you're on YouTube, the easiest way to get a link to share is to click the share button and copy it. You do need to put that in your discussion board post, we have to be able to see the ad ourselves. Okay. Not just me, but your classmates as well. All right. What if you don't want to do a commercial? What if you want to do a print advertisement? Well, then we're going to change over to Google. And we're going to put print advertisements. I like that 2022 just kind of comes up, and you're going to have a couple of places to choose from. You're going to have, here's one, a creative blog that has 74 of the very best print advertisements of all time. You're going to have, much like YouTube, you're going to have collections, and then you're going to have specific examples. You also can look at the images in Google. And of course, there you're getting usually just here's an advertisement, and you can even tell this is something that you might see in a magazine or on a billboard. If you want to look for billboards specifically, I'm trying to think of a billboard that I saw recently that I thought was really cool. Well, I know one of the collections that I think is interesting. I live in the Orlando area, and he practices all over the place, but John Morgan is one of the best known personal injury attorneys in our area. And so I'm going to put in Morgan and Morgan. He has a really interesting selection of billboards around the Orlando area. So Morgan and Morgan billboard in Google Images. I think you can see right away what I mean, because this has been really posted. This one especially, he has been using the size matters line tag. I'm not going to go too far into that. But so you can find billboards around the area. If you have a billboard in your own area that you want to try to look up, Google Images will probably be able to help you find it. So this one's the one that I might choose. This one is you can find it in the article. If I needed to, I would have to put a link to this article. And then I would be able to share the photo with everybody by just clicking on the address bar and copying that, and then I can put it in as well. You are not citing Google Images. Giving a link to Google is not going to help anybody. You have to have a link to the specific one. So billboards, print ads, or commercials. And I would highly recommend sticking with TV ads. A lot easier. YouTube makes it very easy to share that link. So a lot of good things there. Once you choose an ad, you're going to talk about in your post what parts of that advertisement appeal to people's logic. What kinds of facts and statistics are they giving you? Are they giving you anything that is based on expert opinion? Because that's also part of logical stuff. So break it down. What are the logical reasons? What are the emotional reasons? And what are the ethical reasons? And typically with ethics and commercials, it has to do with the reputation. My brain's not working today. Reputation of the company. So, for example, if I was watching an advertisement for Budweiser, and of course they've been world famous for having good advertisements during the Super Bowl for years. They have a reputation, right? And I can talk about that in the ethics. All right, so that's what you're doing with your discussion board. You also have a knowledge check. This video, I apologize, ended up being way longer than I thought it was going to be. So, but all good information. If you need help with anything this week, please reach out, and I will talk to you next Monday if I do not talk to you in between times. So everybody take care.